The Houston Rockets defeated the Golden State Warriors 109-94. I have to say this was a very entertaining game. Thanks to Draymond Green. He was the center of attention for this game, which I would say is not surprising since this guy is a narcissist and is an attention whore. So this was only fitting that he would be the main centerpiece for this game. I would say this game was competitive for the first several minutes. It was a very competitive game. The Rockets jumped out to a 22-15 lead, which you expect for a team that lost their first home game at home. They were playing desperate. They were determined to win. But I felt the biggest play happened when they were up 22-15. So what happened was Amin Thompson drove to the hole. He pulled up for a mid-range jump shot, which was contested by Draymond Green. He misses the shot, and then he tries to grab his offensive rebound, but he gets tangled up with Draymond Green, who ends up pushing him and tripping him at the same time, but he falls right into Jimmy Butler, who went high up in the air to get a high rebound. So keep in mind, Jimmy Butler's still in the air while Draymond shoves and trips Amin Thompson. So Amin Thompson ends up flying right into Jimmy Butler before he lands and ends up undercutting him, which results in Jimmy Butler getting a major injury because he lands awkwardly on his pelvic. And he ends up getting what they have termed a pelvic contusion. That cost him the whole entire game, that he wasn't able to play. He was out of the game, and nobody knows if he'll play the next game in the series or if he'll come back for the series. There's a lot of speculation now. I think most likely he probably will come back for game 3 or 4, but no one knows because this is the injury that can keep you out for a short period of time or a long period of time. They're saying that Curry had this injury before and it kept him out for a game or two, and some other guys on the Warriors have had this injury that's kept them out for a few games. But it's also an injury that's very nagging if you don't take time to rest. It's a pain to deal with. It's also, from what I've read, an injury that could stem from 1 to 7 weeks. So we don't know yet, but Draymond Green, I felt cost his team this game with that cheap, dirty play on Amin Thompson, which resulted in him actually injuring his own teammate, which makes it funny that this was like some kind of karmic justice in the sense that Draymond is always intentionally hurting opposing players, committing dirty plays on them. And this is one of the few times it didn't work out to his benefit. It actually hurt him because he ended up taking out his own teammate with his stupidity, I would say. So I did enjoy that part, seeing how dumb he looked afterwards. It was funny. I'm not gonna lie. Not saying that I was rooting for Jimmy to get hurt, but it was just funny seeing how that play developed and how stupid Draymond looked after that failed attempt to hurt Amin Thompson, which resulted, like I said, in him hurting Jimmy Butler instead. So that showed you how stupid Draymond was. But I felt once that play happened that it was pretty much guaranteed that the Rockets were going to win this game. And they never looked back. They were up for double digits for most of the game. The lead spanned from 10 to 20. It just went through those stretches. But you always knew that the Rockets were going to win the moment Jimmy Butler was gone. Jalen Green went off for 38 points. He was incredible in this game, but I felt it was really overshadowed by what Draymond did. But credit to Jalen Green for having a great game, for making up for his putrid Game 1 performance. You got to give him credit. But like I said, this game was really about Draymond Green. It really was, because he did a lot of dirty antics in this game, and it backfired. But I'm always amazed by how the refs allowed Draymond to get away with so much stuff. Even prior to that play with Amin Thompson, like he got away with shoving Amin Thompson early in the game where he just ran him over, took him to the ground, and the refs gave Amin Thompson a foul instead. There was another play where him and Dylan Brooks just, I think, threw elbows at each other, and they just gave Brooks the foul instead of giving Draymond a foul. It should have been like a double foul. It should have been just Brooks getting the foul. That was stupid. And then there was a play where he just shoved Fred VanVleet and they didn't call it. So this guy is always protected by the refs. I've said this for years. And I think it has to do with Silver telling them not to not to take out Draymond in the sense that he's part of the goose, which is Stephen Curry, who was a ratings generator for Silver. But it's very obvious the refs favor him when you look at how much he gets away with. Just wanted to bring that up. But I felt it was funny throughout the game how he was trying to start stuff with the Rockets. And I think it's not going to work for Draymond because this team is very confrontational. They have several guys that are willing to get into it with him. So I'm not sure he's going to win the intimidation war with them. But it was funny. There was one play where Sagoon wrapped his arm around Draymond's neck and baited Draymond to shove him, and Draymond ended up getting a technical, which was hysterical. There were quite a few moments with Tari Eason in this game where they went at it. There was one moment, I think, for a jump ball where they were trying to fight for position, and they had some words to say to each other. They were shoving each other. Then there was another moment towards the end of the game, I think with 4 or 5 minutes left, but you knew the game was over, where I think it was during a timeout that they had called that Draymond confronted Fred VanVleet, and they started saying stuff to each other. It got testy, and they had to hold Draymond Green back. And then Tari Eason came in there, and he tried to, I believe, shove Draymond. They started saying some words to each other, and they had to grab Draymond and hold him back. Tari Eason tried throwing a towel, and he didn't connect on it, and he ended up throwing it at, I think, the Warriors ball boy. It was pretty hysterical, but it was just funny seeing all this theatrics play out throughout this game with Draymond Green and the Rockets. Obviously, it didn't work for them, and like I said, once Jimmy Butler was out of this game, it just made the Rockets winning this game very easy, because outside of Stephen Curry, the Warriors don't have anybody that can score consistently that like Jimmy Butler can. And it just made it very easy for the Rockets to even defend Curry without having to worry about the threat of Jimmy Butler being out there. Curry did not have a good game for his standards. 6 of 15 from the field, which is overall terrible shooting. That's like 40% from the field. Green shot 4 of 9 from the field. But I always believe if you shoot overall for the game below 45%, that means you had an inefficient game. And that shows even the plus or minus. He was -3 when it comes to plus and minus stats. And he had 6 turnovers, so he wasn't a factor. Draymond also had 5 turnovers, and he was like a -13 for plus or minus. And you definitely felt that when he was in the game that the Rockets benefited more than when he was out of the game. So he was actually a positive for the Rockets. But I would say that Draymond definitely cost them this game with taking out Jimmy Butler unintentionally. And he may have cost them the series depending on when Jimmy Butler can come back or if he can come back. If Jimmy Butler misses even another game, I think the Warriors will lose another game without him. So it's crucial he comes back, because I don't think they can win without him. I think they need him that badly. So this will be an interesting series as this progresses. I do think some fight will happen eventually. It just seems inevitable that Draymond is poking the bear. One of the Rocket players will snap on him. But I thought about this. If a guy like Tari Eason or Dylan Brooks is baited into fighting with him, does it really benefit Draymond, even from the mind games perspective? Both of them will get tossed out of the game. And it won't really hurt the Rockets because they don't really rely on these guys. They're role players. Unless he takes out like Fred VanVleet or not Dylan Brooks, or Shagun or Jalen Green. Those are our top 3 guys. Shagun, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet. Unless he gets into a fight with them and they both get tossed out, that's the only way it benefits them. Maybe if he gets that Thompson get tossed out, it helps. But outside of those guys, you're fighting with these role players. It's not really gonna work out for you. So I think this is pretty hysterical, and I'm looking forward to the next game in the Bay Area. I think it's gonna be very entertaining, and we're gonna get more theatrics going forward. So that's all I have to say.